This week we get to go pick up this second water storage container, which is identical to this one. If you guys remember last time, due to COVID, they've been really difficult to get. Luckily, they finally called me telling me they have a total of 8 that arrived. So all we got to do is do about a 3-hour round trip drive to go pick it up. I guess really there is no choice. That took long enough, about an hour and 20-minute drive. But we're here again. It's the same place we originally were. You can see there's tons of containers. Now it's time to pick up the last and final container for the RODI, which is going to complete the salt mixing station.
A few moments later.
Just finished rinsing it off. Anytime you do buy these, they're not shipped super careful or, treated very delicately. So you're going to see scratches, you're going to see marks, and I've really saw these magic eraser pads or something similar. Gets everything cleaned up really quickly, and here you can see it's as good as new. So before we do bring it here, the RODI storage container is going to be a lot easier to plumb because obviously you don't need to circulate water within it. All you need to do is pretty much a drain out to the pump so it can fill this tank, and then another drain coming straight out just like this so we can empty it. And the way it's going to get water in is going to be through a float valve like this. I got this one on Amazon. I have a link in the description, but this is pretty much the only drilling that's going to be needed. I went with one that is adjustable. You can see here there's a nut, you can loosen it, adjust the float. Also, I wanted one that didn't have any metal parts whatsoever, and as far as I'm aware, I've looked this one over quite a few times and there's absolutely no metal. It's 100% all complete plastic. I found that whenever it comes to drilling holes like this, step drill bit like this is a lot better than the drill bit. You don't have to be changing the bits, and honestly I feel like it leaves for a cleaner hole. And so we got the bit down. I think this is where I want it, a little bit offset to the right about the midpoint. And all there is, push down a little bit to get it started. Don't go too crazy fast. I am going to rinse out the container, but I didn't want to do it till after I drilled it because it's kind of pointless. With the step drill bit, you can go too far, and once you open up the hole too much, well, guess what? You're kind of SOL. So just be careful to go very slow and be checking it so you don't over drill it. Let's deburr it a little bit. Now for the real test. Oh, perfect. So obviously it's installed from the outside. Ideally, it's from the inside. This is just to make sure it fits. So all there is to do now is take off the lid, hold it from the inside, put the nut on it. Don't over tighten it, just nice and snug. Adjust the float valve and we should be good to go. Nice and snug. So this is what it looks like from the outside. You can see it here on the inside. To make this whole setup accept a 1/4 inch RODI is this John Guest fitting that you tighten it on the top, and then from this point it's able to accept any RODI line. The last thing to do is going to be to change out the bulkhead. They do come with bulkheads. I'll show you what it comes with. This is a bulkhead it comes with. It's actually a really industrial, actually really solid bulkhead. The main reason I don't want to use it, it's a little bit hard to get off, but if I remove this red cap, it'll expose the threads. You can see here. I'd much rather it be slip because with threads I need a coupler, then I can run the pipe. All that's going to do is extend the pipe a lot further, and really I don't want it to extend that much. So what I went ahead and did, I got a 1-inch aquarium bulkhead. This one is slip on both ends. I'm going to install it, and then from there I can run my 1-inch PVC. Of course, if you don't have as much space constraints, you can totally use the stock one. It's plenty strong, plenty durable, so I wouldn't be worried about using that one at all. With the old bulkhead removed, you got the hole there. To install it, just remove the nut, leave the seal, and you throw it on the inside. And then you turn the tank straight up, kind of tilt it in this direction so it flows out through here. You grab the threads, and then you can tighten the nut at the very end. Believe it or not, it's actually a lot easier than it seems. At the beginning I was like, how in the heck am I gonna do it? It'd be easier if I had 2 hands available. And again, doesn't need to be crazy tight, just, I don't know about hand tight. It's a really big bulkhead. I'll probably grab some of the channel wrenches, I think they're called, and just give it a little turn. Oh, actually, you know what? If you grab the threads and turn them a little bit, it snugs it up nicely. So that should be good. Doesn't take crazy pressure, and that is complete. That's a tank installed. You can see it right next to the salt station. I also have it kind of rigged up. It's not clean yet, but I got the RODI hooked up. I still got to clean up my lines so you don't see them. I'll probably 3D print some holders for the RODI tubing, just so I can run one behind here and then maybe another one down there on the bottom. I will have to do a run tomorrow to the plumbing store. Luckily, believe it or not, I actually have 2 local stores within 5 minutes of me that both carry Schedule 80 and Schedule 40 spears. I'm going to need to get a reducer, just like here, from 1 inch to 3/4. Install that bad boy here. And then a local reefer, Reef and Chill, he's actually going to be giving me one of his extra CPEX valves. And tomorrow I can probably also pick up one of these barbs for the very end. Silicone just arrived from Amazon. Should be 5 feet of this stuff. Got some scissors to cut it. Yeah, I'm quite surprised. You could actually bend it to quite an aggressive angle without it crimping. Now, being silicone, if you do go too far, it will crimp. This should be plenty. And I assume once there's pressure inside it, even if it is a deep angle, it should still be fine. Have to measure from this location here and then coming up all the way down. When you do purchase a PAX Bellum, you're going to notice it comes with these connectors. I do know there is a name for them. I don't remember the name offhand. You actually make it where it's super easy to either install or remove from the end of the barb or the connection point. So I have one of the sides removed. It's very simple to install. You just push in. Now, it being silicone hose, you want to have a clamp or a zip tie to make sure. I mean, you could maybe trust it like that. Personally, I don't want to risk it. So I will be putting a zip tie around it just to make sure it doesn't come off when I don't want it coming off. So to install this, you pull back on these tabs. It allows these hooks to open up. Once you install it, you push forward on the tabs and you can see how they close up. There's also an O-ring on the opposite end to kind of grab onto the inside, and that should complete the install. So lastly, we have to have it meet up to that union right there. I'll cut it a little bit oversized. Make sure you have some really sharp and good scissors, because last thing you want is a nasty jagged edge. Good thing about using these unions, I'm able to loosen this up and pretty much angle it in any direction. So that's nice and tight. One of the last pieces is where it's going to be coming out of. So this, I am actually going to be using the same connection they provide you. I could have hard plumbed it, but I figured this will be way easier. And the silicone just needs to go below the water line so you don't hear it splashing or anything like that. Give it enough slack. Cut it. Should be able to push up, snap it in place, and then pivot this so the back of it, or so it's on the back side. You can go ahead and seal it. So now once you start to get snug, tighten opposite corners. Doesn't take a lot of pressure to get this thing tightened up. Last thing to do, I did forget to add a zip tie to that, so I'll add the zip tie and then we'll just turn on the flow and that should be good. One thing I did forget, they do provide you with some synthetic grease that's obviously for the O-rings. You can go ahead and do this. They probably would still work if you didn't, but I mean, why not? They provided it. It doesn't take a lot. You don't gotta go super crazy with it. I'm also going to add it to the O-ring that's in here. And we can go ahead and slide this on. Make sure it locks in. There you go. To the top. Don't need to over tighten this. They are plastic screws at the end of it, so the last thing you want is snapping them. Luckily they do give you extras. I'm pretty sure people have over tightened them and they figured might as well give you some extras out of the box. And what's probably going to happen is it's going to take some water to fill this chamber, so I'm probably going to have to top it off with a little bit more water. There it is, that worked all the bubbles out of it. I can already see the chambers. I'd probably monitor it, give it about 20-30 minutes, come back, check on it. So I could see the level actually dropped in the overflow, as it should have, because the flow decreased going back into the tank. So just closing this off. I'll take a little bit of trial and error getting that. And if you guys want to take a look at the flow that's coming out of it, we can do so here. You can see that's quite a bit of flow coming out. I think based on the manual, I need to look at it one more time, but I think they recommend about 200 to 400 gallons an hour. I've already done a few tests, so this wide open is actually pumping about 450 gallons an hour, so I can dial it back a little bit. That'll allow more contact time with the Kato and all the nutrients in the tank, so it should do a pretty good job. You don't need to be crazy dead on when it comes to the flow on this. Just kind of be in the ballpark and you should be good to go. I have to say I'm very happy that I listened to a lot of you guys that commented in the video a few weeks back where I asked you guys if I should hard plumb it or use silicone. Silicone by far was a lot easier. As you can see, I can totally mess with this, move it forward, back, tilt it, whatever I need to do, and you can still see it's perfectly flexible. I was a little bit worried the silicone may look a little bit ugly. Personally, I think it looks great. I'm honestly not worried about it. And I think it surely beats hard plumbing it just because of flexibility it does allow. Now with the PAX Bellum hooked up, I can use my DIY flow meter to really dial it in. I was doing some measurements a little bit earlier off camera to see how much was coming out of the manifold here. It's actually pretty good. I'm getting around 4.5, 450. That should be enough to run the PAX Bellum. Now while we're on the topic of flow, I still need to hook up the UV sterilizer. And I'm actually purposely not trying to hook it up now because I want to see what effects adding different equipment will have on a reef tent, such as when the PAX Bellum goes online, we'll be able to see how it can manage the nutrient export. And then down the road, once we understand and we see just how the PAX Bellum does on its own with a skimmer, we can certainly incorporate the UV sterilizer so we can all see together what differences you can expect from adding a UV sterilizer. So back to that topic with the UV sterilizer, as you guys can see in the back, I have a total of 2 manifolds. One of the manifolds is running, as you can see, to the PAX Bellum. The other manifold is just open for whatever piece of equipment. Now ideally the second manifold was for the UV sterilizer. I've been doing a little bit more research and I think I've had it wrong this whole time. When I was doing research on the UV sterilizer I was going to be running for my tank, the Aqua UV 25, for some reason, I don't know if I read it somewhere or where I got this information from, but I was under the impression that UV sterilizer, if you want it for algae control, you need to run it from, I thought in my head anywhere from like 400 to 500, but I guess not. I believe the optimum range is from 600 to 800 gallons per hour, which seems like quite a bit of flow. I did a little bit more research now that I have the right information online on forums. I keep seeing over and over again a bunch of people saying the slower you run it, the better. Well, from my understanding with the UV, the slower you run it, the more it's for parasites. The higher you run it, the more it's catered towards algae control. I'm really here just asking you guys, especially all you that have run or do run a UV sterilizer, to see what flow do you guys recommend. Can I get away with having 300 to 400 gallons running through it, or do I need that 600 to 800 that Aqua UV is recommending? Again, since I am quarantining the fish, I really don't care about parasite control in the reef tank. I more of anything care about algae. Or maybe you guys will say, you know what, run it in the middle, because at that point I can get the best of both worlds. So really, for you guys watching this, if you do have one or you have had a UV sterilizer, I'd really love to see down in the comment box below what your flow rates are. Maybe with that, I can figure out exactly what I will end up doing and finally get this whole flow thing figured out when it comes to the UV. While we're also talking about the UV, if you guys remember last week, I ordered the 3D printer and I've been having a little bit too much fun. So I ended up designing this. And actually, believe me, I surprised myself. I never thought I'd be able to do something like this, especially on a hinge. But this here is going to be the bracket where you see 4 screws here to mount pretty much anywhere on the stand or wherever you want to put it. There's a thumb screw that goes on this side. There's a screw here that obviously allows it to pivot. You can see you can open and close it. But just thought I'd share this with you. I'm actually really having a lot of fun with the 3D printer. You're able to design so much stuff when it comes to a reef tank. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I didn't cover But I think we touched a little bit on everything, at least what I wanted to cover in this episode. Next week, be sure to not miss it because we are going to be adding fish to the tank. Not only are we going to be adding fish, but I'm going to talk to you guys about a problem that's actually been occurring in the main display. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. More importantly, you were able to learn something different that you can apply to your reef tank. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down in the comment box below. Also remember guys, I really appreciate your feedback. If you could please let me know what optimum flow you recommend for the UV sterilizer, because again, I'm kind of stuck on that point right now. That's going to be it. Thank you guys very much. If you guys did stay till the end, let me know down in the comment box below. I thank each and every one of you very much for watching. As always, happy reefing.